We are here today with Paul Lumley, the Executive Director for the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. Can you tell me a little bit about its mission and its purpose?
Well, we formed in 1977, that is the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. And it was a time of upheaval for the tribes, and they were trying to organize themselves. There were what I term as fishing wars. People were not happy with who got to catch the fish. There were several lawsuits, and at the time the tribes decided to come together because they had the same language in their treaties, the treaties that were signed in 1855, and that's to fish at all usual and the custom fishing places in common with the citizens of the territory. We work with the entire Columbia River Basin, which is much bigger than most people think. It includes a big part of Washington, Oregon, and Idaho, as well as parts of Montana and Wyoming, and goes all the way up into the headwaters in Canada. And when the salmon swim out of the Columbia River, most of them turn north and go all the way up to Alaska, and some even go as far south as Mexico. So it's a pretty big geographic scope.
So tell me about the primary goals of the Fish Commission.
We have four goals of the Fish Commission: to protect the Treaty Indian fishing right, to restore the salmon runs, to share salmon culture with the public, and also to provide services directly to our fishermen.
So let's talk about that first goal, putting fish back in the water. How does the Commission do this?
We have many ways of putting fish back in the river. The first is through the use of hatcheries, and if you can find a biologically appropriate stock of salmon, you can raise them in a hatchery and take advantage of the salmon's life history, increasing their survival rate, and then you can take those same fish and release them back where you collected them, and when they come back they can spawn naturally, so you can put the fish back in the river in that manner. We've had some very big success in the Snake River Basin. For example, with the Snake River Fall Chinook, we were able to use the same kind of method, using hatcheries as a natural stock recovery tool, to go from a few thousand fish to over 40,000 fish, with a large percentage of them are successfully spawning naturally. And these are the same stocks that are listed under the Endangered Species Act, and so we could be looking at delisting of salmon stocks, all from a tribal program.
So I notice we have put fish back in the water and provide fisher service. To me, those kind of sound like the same thing, but could you tell me a little bit about the difference between the two?
Sure. Well, providing fisher services is really directly to our fishermen. And so they fish out on the Columbia River, and when they try to sell the fish, sometimes the price is really bad. So bad that they can't even make a living off of it. So what we're trying to do is to increase the price of the fish for them. And the best way to do that is to teach them how to handle the salmon better. So to keep them cool and to get them to market in the best possible condition. And you know, we've been able to increase our prices for salmon, even in these economic downturn times. We've been able to increase it dramatically, and in some cases it commands the highest price in the Columbia River. So that's providing fisher services, and we do that by making sure that they understand safe food handling practices and also where to market their salmon.
I know that salmon culture is a gigantic piece of Native heritage. Where does it begin?
We made a deal with the Creator. The Creator said, if I give you these first foods, if these first foods will sacrifice themselves for your survival, you will survive. But you have to, in turn, take care of these first foods. And the tribes never forgot that. And so every year we have our first salmon ceremonies, and we honor the salmon in that way. If you were ever lucky enough to come into a longhouse where we have one of our first salmon ceremonies, then you'll see how we even honor them, all of our first foods. First, we set the water out, and then comes the salmon, followed by the game, and then the roots and the berries. These are all our first foods. And you are welcome to attend one of our first salmon ceremonies. In fact, the public is as well.
How can we, as an evolving, sustainable culture, support the efforts of this heritage and commission?
Several ways. The first is you can be really more conscientious about what we put into the river, even in our own homes. It goes down the drain, it goes out into the Columbia River eventually. So being really careful about what we put into the river. Also supporting all the great work that people are doing to restore habitat that salmon survive in, to promote initiatives that protect habitat by changing our agriculture and logging practices, and also just by donating. There are several organizations that do fantastic work out there to restore salmon habitat, including the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. You can go to our website and you can donate there at www.critfc.org, and you can donate. We'll make sure that your donation makes it to on-the-ground salmon habitat restoration work.
All great information, very educational. I'm Holly Fee, giving you the tools to be sustainable today.